I'm Wanda DeBoer, and I am the founder of Chicks Making Flicks Power Brunch. Thank you. We are living in the she economy. The Eras Tour last year is the highest grossing concert tour of all time. And the Barbie movie actually grossed $1 billion last year in 17 days. We are happy to have today a female filmmaker panel, all females with producers, directors, actresses, screenwriters, and cinematographers. And now I'd like to turn this over to Julie Chalhoub, our moderator.
Well, I want to thank everybody for being here. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces, some new ones. We have so many great filmmakers here. As Wanda just said, writers, directors, cinematographers, editors, you name it. These ladies have all done it or are in the process of doing more. So let me introduce you from left to right. We have Julia Arender, an award-winning writer, director, and actress. We have Rachel Paulson, who is invisible. Rachel, who will be here in just a minute, is a director, producer, writer, and actress here with Fire Fucking Fire. That's a short film to be shown today at 4:45. Denise Tompkinson. Denise is also a producer, director, cinematographer, and she's here with a short documentary called Cold World. Fabiana Lowe, also a writer, producer, director, editor. Maggie Parada, producer and director, and both of them are here with the film Diversion. Haley Spicer, writer, director, cinematographer, and she's here with I Feel Fine. That'll be fine later today and tomorrow. And we have Deborah Hewitt. Beautiful. Just a little practice.
Thank you.
Writer, director, actress, producer, and she is here with Cash for Gold. And hopefully you guys were able to hear her speak yesterday, but she'll be here with her film later today. Each one of these people has so many projects under their belts, but we have such limited time today, so we're going to try and just keep it to what we have going on. Let's see who's here.
Hi.
In true style. Yay, yes. So we're going to try and talk a little bit more about their films that they're here representing, and then we can hear more about that later if they want to fill us in on what's coming up. Our subject today is about secrets behind the camera. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to try and work that word in anytime I can, so you're going to get sick of hearing that. But I want to start with something a filmmaker friend of mine told me, and that was about dialogue. That dialogue should never be used to further the narrative, but should always tell more about who the character is. And I really liked that because when I saw each of your films, I felt that that was so important. And so my question is, what is your secret about developing your characters when you're writing? Where does it begin? How does that progress go as the character develops? And I wanted, and it may evolve as your story unfolds. But I wanted to start with Fire Fucking Fire. Tell us about your character and how that came about. Keeping in mind, people haven't seen that yet.
Oh yeah, no secrets,
Yeah.
no spoilers.
Well, we can spoil a few things. Why not? So this character that Rachel plays, named Ali, was really inspired by Rachel. Surprisingly, she's a very inspiring person, and yeah, you're like a muse of sorts. You're
That's
just like
nice.
She is. My God, my goodness. We were actually making a movie together that we were acting in, not directing, and hadn't written, but we were cast in, and we played lovers. It's very sexy. That's correct. Good kisser.
Oh, one fan. We got
Shout
one.
out. Good kisser. And while we were on set in Seattle, Rachel was DMing a pretty famous rock star, right?
Yes, I'm not going to tell anyone who it is, so don't ask.
I might.
No.
And yeah. So the concept came from that. We were like, what if this had happened? And like, what might this rock star have been like if she had gone on this tryst? And yeah, the characters came from there. It's about kind of more homebody, people-pleasing, neurotic person that Rachel really isn't, but we extrapolated those qualities, and somebody who is just kind of a train wreck and comes into her life and blows it up, and the comedy comes from the collision of those two characters. So that's our secret.
Let's go on to Diversion. Tell us about the development of the characters in Diversion.
Yeah, so Diversion was born from a local film challenge called the Green Light Film Challenge. And I don't know if anybody knows about it, but you basically have to write, produce, and submit your film in 7 days. So in terms of development, there wasn't a ton of time to really develop our characters, but we looked at the themes of the actual script, and we really there's a fly like really
Sure there is.
sorry about that. You want to take
Okay.
That's what I'd say.
distractions?
No, in this particular case, there wasn't a lot of time, but we worked with Mandy Mills, who actually played one of the lead characters. So she infused a lot of her personality into it, and when you're doing things, when you're actually producing for like a 48-hour film festival or a challenge such as this one, it is quick resourcefulness. Let's just try to bring in everything that we know, and including a little bit of our personalities to make it work. So that's actually how it happened, and it was also opportunity. At the beginning, the second lead character was supposed to be a male, and there was supposed to be some romance there. And because there was no male lead character, we had to pivot to a female lead character. And we told the story last night that it was either going to be lovers or sisters. And quickly we had to realize, well, there's no chemistry between the two girls, so they're sisters. So that's actually how it happened. And typically, it would be a little bit different. We would go a little bit deeper into the stories, but in this case, it was quick, and let's just act as fast as we can.
Yeah, and I think it's really a story about what do you do for a person. Do you control fate if you know? Well, basically, the story is about it's like a science fiction world where on your 30th birthday you receive a box, and this box then tells you how long you have left to live. So one of the sisters got 39 years, but our other character, Mandy Mills, got 7 hours. So, what do you do with those 7 hours that you have left to live? And if you love someone, what do you do to control their fate and destiny?
So let's go on to I Feel Fine, Haley, sorry. Tell us about your character and how that developed.
So Ozzy is
I'm sorry, I Feel
Yes.
Fine is a feature documentary showing today.
feature film, just not
I'm
documentary.
sorry,
You're good.
yes, she knows what her film is. I've seen it, it's good. Go ahead.
So Ozzy is a very charismatic and likable, lovable person, and the character that we wrote off of is somebody that we knew in high school. So me and my husband, we wrote and directed the film. And so when we were kind of writing the film beforehand, an actor came in mind, and it was Elijah Passmore, Tori Passmore's brother, which they play brother and sister in the film, which is pretty cool. So when we met Elijah, we saw like this spark in his eyes, and we kind of saw the same spark that we did from the boy that we knew in high school. And so we we clicked immediately. There's some really funny stories of how we clicked. I don't want to say it here, but maybe we'll talk about it later. But so while the writing process was going on, we got really close, and we were talking about the character and like things that he's been through in his life and things that we've been through, and we kind of brought it together, and we worked together and like wrote the script that way. And something I've learned that has helped create more like dynamic characters in a way is like writing from a place of like, you wouldn't want to tell somebody this, and that's what people want to hear. You know, like whenever something's kind of like, oh, this is so like awkward, like everyone loves that. They love like the tea and like the juice, you know. So that's kind of like what it was hard, of course, to like write from that place, but it was fun and interesting, and I think it worked.
I agree with you on that. And Deborah, you want to tell us about your character in Cash for Gold?
Just about the character, or how I
How you
came to
developed-
write her, how I developed.
Yes.
Well, yes. So, Cash for Gold is a narrative feature that is actually developed from a short film that I did by the same name, and I play the character that the film is based around. And I really, it was a story I wanted to tell because it was inspired by real events in my life and in my family's lives. And so I really, whenever I'm writing character dialogue, I always have somebody in mind. And so a 25-year career actor, so I was using myself to create that character, and this is the first script I've ever written. Aside from that short, this was my first full-length script. And so I'm always just, she's a woman who is recently widowed. She's living in a small town, mom of a young kid. Husband served in Afghanistan. She comes from like a very, I don't want to say a small experience of a life. You know, she's not very worldly. And in order to make ends meet, she goes and works at the pawn shop, the local pawn shop, and it's owned by the town's only Muslim family. They're very different, and I don't think she believes that they could possibly have anything in common, but they develop a relationship, and the movie is really what comes out of that, like how they affect each other, how their relationship affects some people in the town. And so I was constantly drawing on those things in my life that inspired the events to, you know, from there develop character, dialogue, all of those things. But whenever I'm writing a character, I have somebody in mind. Somebody I know is like the tent pole for that person, and it just helps me get started with what would they do in this situation? How would they react? Would they crack a joke? Would they be serious? Would they cry? And so I'm always pulling from the people around me, even if they don't know it.
And it seems like, and you did that very well. In each of these short films, or in the features, I really felt like I knew the people. I didn't feel like I was watching something that was created and, you know, I don't even know how to describe that because I believed it. I cannot imagine anyone else playing your role. I cannot imagine anyone else playing Ozzy. And it was really cool because I had a chance to work with you guys on a different short. Same with Fire Fucking Fire. I was like, everything in each of these films, even Diversion, of course, was like everything was relatable. Your characters were relatable. And to me, I'm not a writer. It's not something that I would ever call myself. So I'm really amazed and inspired by what you guys bring to life on screen. And when I saw Fire Fucking Fire, I was like, there's not one person who can say that they haven't really encountered something like what you went through in that.
Oh gosh. Stage
Not
five
that I
thinger.
literally did, but we've all had those moments of, you know, what happened there?
Yeah.
I want to move over to Denise's film. She has a documentary short called Cold World, and hers was very different. And so from the documentary standpoint, how does that come together for you? Do you pick the people? Do they pick you? How do you find the people that tell their stories? And I don't want to give it away, but how it progresses and is revealed at the end. But if you can talk on that, please.
Yeah, in this instance, the person that I shot with is actually a close friend of mine, so I knew their story pretty intimately already, and I was able to work with them in that way. But I mean, it can happen all sorts of ways. I think taking time to get to know people, though, like before you're on camera with them, and just like building comfort, because what I'm trying to do with documentary is not like build a character, but bring out somebody's like who they actually are. And people are usually like really stiff, awkward, uncomfortable when a camera first comes out. So I think the more that you can build the relationship. And then also like starting recording as soon as they're mic'd up, kind of keeping it recording even after you cut, because people kind of relax after you cut, and then they say all the good stuff. But yeah, just building comfort, I think.
And trust. You have to
Comfort
have
and
that
trust. Trust is huge. I have a lot of conversations about trust, actually, especially because I've worked a lot with people, stories of like sexual violence and all sorts of things, and so there's a lot of what does this look like? What is this going to be used for? Will you be able to see it before it comes out? Can you change your mind and not have this come out? How long can you do that for before it's like already kind of in motion and I can't take it back? So there's all of those kind of conversations.
I want to come back to that too, because that's a secret I would want you guys to share too. What kind of confidentiality? What do you need to do with your stories before they go out? But what you just said led into my next question. There are some really heavy topics in these films. And, we're dealing in some cases with racism, sexual sexploitation, or whatever words you want to use for that. Whether alcoholism, suicide, mental health issues, addiction. What is it you guys do, and we can bring it on down the line here. What do you do to protect your crew? Like if you're doing in a narrative, what do you do to protect them when you're doing a reenactment? Or if you're doing a documentary, do you have somebody on set that can help? And I imagine like for the heavier subjects in Cash for Gold, you're in a tough spot, for a long time. How do you protect yourself as an actress, as a director? And so let's start with Fire, please.
How did we protect our crew?
I mean, ours doesn't really deal with that many heavy themes. It's basically a really funny movie. But I think just in general, I can maybe speak on other movies that I've done. I think,
sure.
And I think it's just important that you create like a safe space and make sure that everybody feels safe, and you're keeping kind of an open dialogue with actors from director. That's kind of like, that's making them allow themselves to be open and vulnerable on set. And I think it's, I think just, I guess you could talk about like a sex scene or a mental health scene. I think it's like you have a skeleton crew. I think you don't have like everybody there unless they have to be, and you kind of do disclaimers. I mean, that's what I would say. It would be like this scene has some sort of blank theme in it, right? That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, I think protecting your crew and cast on any movie is important, and maybe not be from the themes in the film, but just making sure like everybody's really well fed. That's number one for crew, right?
Yeah, sure.
And making sure you're not like overworking people, ending on time, not going over your allotted a number of hours in the day. And then for me, like because I'm an actor first, directing my actors, I just always their comfort and ability to take risks because they feel comfortable and free is paramount to me. That is the number one thing for me. I want my actors to feel so comfortable and just put it all out there, and then make sure those moments, those really, really authentic moments, make it in the movie. Even if that wasn't in the script, like I will always, always, always go for real. Always go for grounded and authentic moments over some idea I had in my head.
Denise, you want to talk about your team?
Yeah, so I mean, on my film, it's really like I shot it, I edited it. So when I did like the interview, it was just me and this one person that I do have a relationship with. So in this instance, it was very small. What I would like to be able to do in the future is interview people and actually offer them like compensation. Like this person did it for me for free, but compensation that like for their story, or even I've heard of it like, do you want some therapy sessions covered after this? Because sometimes you're digging stuff up for people.
That is exactly the point of my question.
And then I've been on sets. I mean, there's all kinds of things. There's intimacy coordinators. There are sometimes sets where it's a heavy topic where there's a therapist on. And I want to have the budgets to have all these things. That's the goal is, to protect everybody.
I heard that for documentaries, if you pay the subject, it moves into reality TV. So then it's like
yes.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that.
It can make it tricky for distribution. So one thing that you can do, I've heard, I'm still kind of learning about this, is paying for the rights to their story as opposed to like paying them for their like time or appearance. I've realized that people do all kinds of things. People will pay for they pay them for their location because you interviewed at their house or something. I think that there's been a lot of discourse about it, and I think that it's something that will change and should change, because people expose themselves so much and stuff, and then the whole world has your story, and that can be traumatic, not just when you do the interview, but like when it comes out and people are all of a sudden seeing you like on Netflix and stuff. Like you shouldn't be. It upsets me to think that people are struggling in the aftermath of that and have no resources. You should be compensated.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
But that's not usually how it goes.
And was there anything like that with Diversion? Did you have anything?
Not necessarily with Diversion, but I can speak on the previous short that we did, Stood Up. One thing that we wanted to make sure of, and just like Julia, is that everybody in our crew was compensated for their work, for their time. We shot in July in Florida, and outdoor scenes. And those of you who are from, if we're local, would know that is tough. So everybody received compensation, and I think we didn't protect them from the theme, but everybody felt like their time was was valuable, and therefore they were there not only with their heart, but also felt valuable.
Yeah, and I was going to say, too, one of the films I directed, Girls Rock St. Pete, it's a documentary. I worked with children, and, there's definitely, like, another level of safety that you go through when you're working with children. Obviously, you need parental sign-off on all of that, but just making them feel comfortable, making them feel safe in order to open up and give good sound bites, which they did. They're very, very good at that.
Haley, with the suicide and reenacting some of these scenes, was that hard for Elijah? Was it hard for you guys to see? How did you protect yourselves and protect Elijah?
Of course, it was definitely when we were planning and talking about the scenes. I think pre-production is so important in a film with heavy topics, just so they can mentally prepare for on set. For one thing, have a good AD. That's all I gotta say. Like that's like the main key, is having a good AD who can really talk to the crew and tell them like, hey, this is gonna have heavy subjects. And especially for a lot of the scenes, we had like skeleton crew, and so like they'd go up on like this little hill, and there'd be like intimate scenes between Ozzy and Mia, the love interests. And so it was kind of like talking with the actors too, like what are you guys comfortable with? And it was kind of like the conversation went, yeah, let's have a skeleton crew. It'd be best. So yeah.
I know I go into work mode when I have to hide from something. I go to work, and this is work, but when you're done, and then you have to decompress. Or a documentary I worked on that was about the Pulse Massacre, where I've seen that footage thousands of times, and it's over and over in my head. So it's just so hard, and most people don't think about that. Yeah. With Cash for Gold, your character, some of the things that you faced in her life, how did that impact you? And with whether it was the weather and mental health and addiction and.
Well, because I've been an actor for so long, I feel like I have my own process for handling difficult material when I have to play it. The weather, what you bring up there, was by far the hardest thing to deal with. We were shooting in Upper Minnesota in February, and we had a lot of exteriors, and my character, there's a long sequence where she's intoxicated and not properly clothed as a result. And there was one night, if you come and see the movie, there's an exterior fire scene, which took, you can imagine, we had firemen and fire trucks and the whole thing. And she's drunk, and we were outside for, I think, 6 hours, and it was -9 the whole time. So, I was like, who wrote this? It was insane. It was insane. I don't know that I would be willing to put another actor through that. I felt okay about doing it to myself, but now knowing what that took, it was, I think, physically sometimes even dangerous. And it wasn't until, you're in it, and there are so many people beholden to you, the stakeholders, the investors, everybody who's on the crew, and you can't fail them. And so I often actually found that I was pushing myself beyond what I should, and I think I learned a lot of lessons from that. And now as I move forward directing, this is the sort of thing that I think I will be more mindful of in advance of doing. So I don't know that I handled it particularly. I got through it, I'm alive, I'm here. But I don't know that I handled it in a way that I would want you all to learn lessons from. I pushed myself too hard, I think.
So I'm going to derail myself here because you just brought up a really good point when you're writing. One of the things when I pretend to be a writer at some point, I know myself and I write to my limitations. I don't write the story and then figure things out. So this clearly is changing how you're going to approach things.
Well, I initially wrote the film to be shot in Ohio, which can get cold in the wintertime, but it does not get northern Minnesota cold. So I think that's also, if I'm going to cut myself a break, I did not anticipate truly how hard it would be. But yeah, I don't know about writing to limitations, because I think sometimes then you stifle, right, what you're going to create.
Yeah. I agree with that.
But you do have to be reasonable. I don't know that I would not write another script to be shot in northern Minnesota in the middle of winter. I just won't. I'm done. We're good.
And since I changed the subject to writing, did you have something you wanted to add to that about how you approach the?
Yeah, I just wouldn't want to limit myself, because you don't know what's coming out of your subconscious and what it's going to mean necessarily when you start writing. So if you just let yourself go and then let the producer tell you what's possible, and then you can write to the limitations, but definitely not on a first draft. I would just let your mind go crazy and whatever comes out.
Well, you mentioned your location. Should we show your clip right now so we can see your?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, let's show that clip, please.
How's Muhammad doing?
Getting old, like the rest of us.
Well, you send him my best.
Of course.
Say, you should join me at another chamber meeting one of these days. It's good for networking,
I don't think it was for me.
You and me then? Grab a coffee sometime?
Things are really busy at the store.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
It's just hard for me to get away.
No need. I understand.
Good evening, Alan.
Good evening, Hassan.
It was windy to the point where we couldn't use any of the audio at all. So everything that you just heard, all that dialogue, was recorded separately. And this is what I wanted to talk about. Our brilliant sound guy was like, I thought we would do it in post, but then you have to get your actors back together, which of course we did a lot of ADR, but if you can not have to fix it in post, it's even better. So our brilliant sound recorder put us all in a car, and we sat, and those actors were so on point with their lines that they recorded those lines in the car. Wow. They played the scene in the car, and it matched perfectly.
Wow, that's amazing.
Amazing. But I didn't even know. It looked right, that's why I wanted to show it, because it sounds like a serene night. It was like it was so crazy. And we took this big swing with the car thinking this is nuts. But it completely worked, and it saved us a ton of time and money and energy. Yeah. And then I do want to say one more thing about that, because this is a sensitivity thing. You don't know what your actors are going to have issues with unless you talk to them about it. And my co-lead, Farshid Farahat, who does such a great job in the film, he is from Iran, and he is deathly afraid of dogs. Any dog, because dogs are sometimes used for nefarious purposes before he left. Even that tiny little Pomeranian made him incredibly uncomfortable. And so, like, you can't assume anything about people's past, what they've encountered. He was such a trooper. I think he was really scared that whole time. It's just like a thing, you know, if this thing you haven't dealt with and it's an issue for you, and then you're trying to also do your job and be in another character's mind, like, all I'm saying is talk to your actors about every single scene and every single thing they might be afraid of. If they're having to stand on a high landing and they're afraid of heights or whatever it is, like, you have to really prepare yourself for all those things.
And that actually is a nice lead into the next question, which is about casting. So how you come up with your casting. And you mentioned already that you actually write for certain people.
Well, I don't write for actors
Not
because
just
I don't
for
know if I can
yourself?
get them. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had an incredible casting director who helped us put our cast together. But I will write with people I know in mind so that I get the characters down. And sometimes I'll think about an actor, but I don't get tied to it because, you know, like, you go out to actors and they're like, they're busy or they're not interested or whatever. So I don't write to actors generally.
Okay. Then fire. And
yeah. Well, we wrote to Rachel because she's amazing. And then for our second lead, actually, initially our concept was I was going to play the second, but then decided to have a more pulled back approach and really have one of us stay behind the camera. And so my manager at the time was like, well, if you need a rock star, I actually represent Calico Cooper, who's Alice Cooper's daughter and the front woman of a heavy metal band. And so she was incredible and jumped in, and that was an offer, a straight offer to her. We auditioned a bunch of people for the Jess role. Yeah. But our very first tape that came in was Capri, and like nobody could top it. So we circled back around to her. And then we wrote a role, which, like you say, we're not supposed to do, but we wrote Sam especially for Vico Ortiz, and we were so excited that they said yes when we went out to them. Yeah.
Does this tie in with one of your clips? Did you want to show?
Sure. I mean, I don't know that it ties in, but we can play one. This is more, if you want to show the first one.
Fire clip one.
Yeah, I would say that this is more to do with like restrictions on set. So at some point we realized we were not going to make our day. And so we had to merge two scenes. And the poor production designer had dressed this closet beautifully, like literally painted it black and then got hangers and like decorated the whole thing. And we didn't even shoot in it. We didn't even shoot in it. We just merged two scenes. And what you're about to see is a moment that was not in the script that came out of that necessity. And it's one of my favorite moments in the movie.
Oh my God.
What do you think? It's perfect. I love it. Do you love it? I love it.
It's so funny. I know what's coming next. It's so funny.
Yeah, but this was just a bridge moment. Thank you. That this wasn't scripted at all. It was like, how are we going to get from this scene to this scene? Like, you know, in the same location. Yeah.
And it was so funny because when we were doing it, it wasn't in the script, and Calico would come in and she fucking sorry, I cursed. She scared me every single time. Like, it was like real. Like, I didn't know she was like coming in, and I would be like, oh God! And like, so it was like most of those takes were like pretty natural because I was like so focused, and Julia would say like, just be focused on what's going on, and I she was like just out of my peripheral, so I like couldn't see her. So it was a pretty natural moment.
And I like the jump cuts to get to that point too. I thought that worked really well.
Thank you.
Is the other clip relevant now, or should we wait on that one?
We can play it if you want to. Why not? Let's go for it. I'm excited for it to screen today. I can't wait to see it again. I love this movie.
Oh my God. Oh, holy shit. Ooh, thank you.
Why are you naked, but like not in a hot way?
God, thank God you're here. Yeah, thank God is right. This party's even better than it looks online.
Fuck, it's online? You have to help me.
Nice art.
What, are you serious?
What? It's good.
Okay, you, me, bathroom now. Let's go. Come
No,
on.
people are gonna think we're dating.
We're going.
Hey guys, I'm single. Like, so single. It's like ridiculous.
Capri, she's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so much in that clip that we could talk about.
I know.
But yeah, Capri, she did it in the audition, and we just let her go for it, and she's an improv master. And yeah, so a lot of those lines that you see, she came up with. Yeah, probably 50% of her lines in this bit she came up with. And then also, did you want to talk about the ghost thing?
Yeah, so I don't know if this happens often, but I happen to be, this is so gross that I'm even saying this. I can't believe I'm even gonna say it, but I'm like kind of a little bit of an influencer. Oh God. I just hate when that comes out of my mouth, but it's true. And so I like work with brands a lot, and the Ghost Tequila, they were like a brand that I was working with at the time, and I thought it would be interesting to bring up that they actually gave us like $10,000 for this film. And all they asked for was we have like this big party scene, which if you're all there, I expect to see every face in that theater. You'll see that there's a couple more moments in the film where we show it, but it really wasn't that much. I think there's like 2 or 3 moments where we show very clearly the ghost bottle, and we sent them the script. They loved it. They were like, we've never really done anything like this, and now their product is going to be seen by all of these people that are going to see it today, and then like all the other film festivals that it's going to go through. So it was just kind of a back-ended way on how to kind of get financing, because for me that's the hardest thing when making films, is like finding people to finance them. So I think it was kind of a way to think outside of the box on how to kind of get someone to give us money, and and it was a really cool thing that we did. So
Yeah, and I think they're very happy about the reach they're getting. So everybody wins.
Yay. Backing back up to the casting, I want to talk to you, Haley, about casting Elijah. I know you said that he already looked like that. And did you say you wrote it for him, or you wrote everything about that? Talk to me about that, because when I actually worked with you on that short film we talked about, and I was like, who are these goofy people? They were just constantly having fun, and I tend to be a very focused person, and get work done. And they're just having so much fun. I'm like, I don't know the relationship. And I'm like, my brain, because I didn't have an important job on this one. I was just like driving people and PA, whatever they needed. But Haley was the DP on that one. And then when I saw the film, I'm like, holy cow. And I can't imagine that each of your films, every one of them, like I didn't get to see the people in yours, obviously, as a documentary. I cannot imagine anyone else being cast in those roles. Can we play the clip of the little bit of the trailer, and then you can talk about Elijah?
Mr. Raymond gave me a C.
I got an A.
Congratulations, Everett. What happened?
I have to be honest with you. This paper scared me.
Piece of
Whoa, 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 whoa!
My sister was depressed. They gave her Xanax. That sort of fixed it. Why don't you just go on?
She's not depressed, Everett. She's got OCD. Difference.
They like to hang out in cool, shady spaces, so...
To the woods!
It's strange, isn't it? How each man's life touches so many other lives. And when he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole.
So proud of you. Going on your first date. Having your first kiss.
What?
Nothing.
What are you talking about?
I just had Dash go up and spy on you guys.
He went very dark when he rewrote the paper. Have you ever talked to him about suicide?
He's the happiest kid that I know. Are we talking about the same old Aussie Taylor?
Yeah, go ahead and talk just briefly again about Elijah and choosing him, or he chose you, or did that inspire you to write this, or were you always going to write this?
I'm a little emotional. I just started my cycle, and we're all women here, so I can say that. So watching that trailer, I'm like, I'm just so proud of the cast and Tori.
You should
and
be.
everybody.
You should
Excellent.
be.
So good.
So, okay. So while we were writing the film, well, just the idea and everything, we had this character in mind, and it was based off somebody we knew. And so, we got really close to Elijah, and we did over 20 feature films last year, which is insane. It's like not right. It was all like super indie films, but it was like we literally were working nonstop and like had no time to do anything. And so he was like PAing and started camera operating on these films. And we just got so close, and we like basically lived in West Virginia for months. I don't know how his parents like let him stay with us. So we basically literally like his parents for, these months on end, and we got really close and talked and everything. And so while we were writing this character, we pulled a lot from him and just like his quirkiness, and like there's things in like the movie that like we would go through, like a lot of the times when we had nothing to do in West Virginia, like after filming, we'd go to thrift stores, and like that we just kind of like, that was our thing. We'd go to thrift stores, they had some good stuff there. And so he borrowed one of my shirts and got a stain on it, and I got really mad. And that's in the film. So it's kind of like pulling from that.
Oh, that's great. I have one more question for you, because some of you were directing as you were acting, or directing as you're DPing. How do you find that collaboration? How do you do that collaborating? And especially if you're, have longtime partners that you're working with. Go ahead.
I feel like I always go first. So for us, for me, I kind of was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this and be in every scene and like do, what I need to do. So I think what really happened is I helped with casting. I kind of helped with, pre-production, but really on set, I kind of stepped back and allowed, Julia to really take the reins, while, and she would obviously come up and like, show me things or tell me things or ask me things, but she really was the one that kind of took control on set. And I think, it just wouldn't have been possible for me to do that with the amount of time that we were having. I would have had to watch playback on every single scene, which would have taken forever to do. And I just think like as an actor and a partner working with her, like I just feel like I could not have done, I don't think this film would be what it was if she wasn't there on set doing what she was doing, and I would not be the character that I was in that if she wasn't doing what she was doing. So, but that's how we kind of did it. And then I helped with post-production, but she really, really was there on set, and I didn't, honestly, I asked to not do anything, but I really didn't do much like on set. I was kind of just like an actor, and it just allowed me to do that, which I think was just like such a special thing, and I trusted her enough to do that, and she trusted me enough to do that. So that's how our collaboration kind of worked.
Awesome. And did you have something to add? Oh, Deborah, you mentioned something to me about your collaboration with Robert. How did that come together and help you as an actor versus director?
Right. So my co-director, Robert Enriquez, the way that we worked together, I was directing everything alongside of him. Like we were choosing the shots and working with the DP on which lens we were going to pick and all of that. When it came to the place where he really stepped in and I stepped back was in directing the other actors I was in scene with. I did not want to be in a position where I was acting opposite someone and then I would like step back, put on a director's hat and be like, no, this way next time. You know what I'm saying? The only actor I did direct in scene with me was with a 5-year-old who played my child, who I was, we were just like this, and so I would be directing him. But when it came time to give an actor an adjustment, I would go to Robert. So this took a little bit of extra time. It's something to keep in mind if you're acting in something that you're also co-directing or directing. I would go to Robert and I would say, I feel like the scene needs a little bit more of this flavor to it, and he would go to the actor I was working opposite, and he would give that adjustment. I was not trying to adjust actors in scene with me.
But you do that otherwise, though, right? Like when you're not.
As when I'm directing and I'm not in it, absolutely,
Yeah.
of course, yes, I'm
Gotcha.
doing all that stuff. Yeah.
I am told we have to open it up for Q&As. So I want to give everybody in our audience a chance to ask questions of our panelists. Anybody have any questions?
More clips. More clips.
So let's go ahead and play the diversion.
The charade. It needs to end. What are you talking about? You're right. I have to turn in my box. What do you do without me? Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. So, what's it gonna be?
And what I want to add to that about that film in particular, she was saying that it was a challenge. The film was part of a film challenge. What I would say about that is that very often you can say, oh, that was a 48-hour film challenge. You know, it was good for a 48-hour film challenge, or it was good for this kind of a thing. It was just good. And I highly recommend going to see it. It was just good. And I would say that about all of these films. Now, we did not get to see Denise's pieces, Reese's pieces. I'm sorry, I'm just rhyming now.
Stand in your light. Don't shirk. Stop doing that. People need you. People need you to stand tall. People need you to have the courage to be seen.
Much better than this, unless I was an EGOT and had them all.
Great. She'll need a microphone.
Oh, yeah. I should have given you guys the trailer for my actual film. I just wasn't even thinking when I was emailing you. But yeah, that was my sizzle reel. That was all my cinematography and editing. And then I just like sharing this one because Viola Davis reshared the interview I filmed with her and tagged me, and it made me really happy. If I was going to add something to it, it would be fight to get your credit, because they hadn't originally put my name in the credit before she had reshared it, and I had like contacted them and been like, why don't you have a video by thing? And then they did it, and then she reshared it, and so I was, yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions for our panels? Yes, Victoria.
It was an entire day of going through different scenarios. I mean, it was, and just like you said it was probably one of the most difficult ones because they gave us an exterior night and with very specific shots of the moon. It was like, well, what if we don't have a moon then? But it was, so yes, it took almost an entire day. And after collaborating, after everybody gave their ideas, it took one person to just run with it. And sometimes that's the way it needs to happen. Otherwise, we would have talked about it for 3 more days and would have delayed our shoot. So it was Mandy that just after we gave all of our ideas and thought we were going in a different direction, she said, I have this idea. Let me, and we said, just run with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mandy actually wrote the script, and she was one of the leads in it. But yeah, from a director's perspective, the first page of the script was really hard to pull off because, like you said, it was a night scene with certain specific light cues, and then the box that you saw, it had to be like in the back seat vibrating a certain way. So there are all these like really specific things with this challenge, but we tried to do our best and have fun. That was the perspective that we had with it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm getting the note that I have to wrap. So, well, I'm sure most people will be here, so you can come and ask questions after. But I want to take a moment to thank each and one of you and announce when your film is going to play. So we have Denise Tompkinson's Cold World. It's going to play Sunday in the documentary Shorts Block 2 at 11 a.m. Haley Spicer's I Feel Fine screens today at 7 p.m. There's an encore screening on Sunday at 3:45 p.m. Maggie Parada and Fabiana Lowe, Diversion. That screens on Sunday in Made in Florida Part 2. Julia Arringer, Rachel Paulson, Fire Fucking Fire, screens today at 4:45 in the Comedy Shorts Block number 2. And Deborah Puette, Cash for Gold, screens tonight at 6:45. Before I turn it back over to Wanda, I want to say thank you to Wanda for bringing everybody together for this and her whole team for making this happen. They deserve a big shout out. Thank you, Wanda.
Thank you guys for coming, and thank you to all of our sponsors. And I have this magical team that helps me put this on every year. I couldn't do it without any of them. Candace, Julie, Darlene, Mo, I'm looking at everybody, making sure I get them, Carmen, all of you guys. If you're interested in helping us with Chicks Making Flicks, get in touch with me.